Alright, so this is going to be a bit of a self-indulgent video. And by the way, I want to thank people for subscribing to this channel. I think I might be the lone voice that's coming from a different political perspective and talking about Tulsi Gabbard with urgency, because I believe she is the best candidate to defeat the deep state, also to take on the entire military-industrial complex, to rescue our politics from the gutter. And when I say gutter, I want to be clear. I've seen the stuff on the right, because I'm more familiar with the right, where on the far right, there's just a lot of crazy negativity, and people are more or less preparing for the end of the world on the far right end of the spectrum, like I like to call the prepper class, who talk to one another, who see the world ending because there's too much diversity around them, and they feel as though their culture, their way of life is being threatened. And that rhetoric, by the way, is amplified by the news media every single day. Keep that in mind, okay? Now, I've really enjoyed some of the work that Kim Iverson has been doing, and she did a video where she talked about class and decorum and the way we speak to one another. And I noticed the thread, and I made a comment over there saying it's one of the best videos you've done, because what I don't see on either side of the political spectrum, not the neocon, neo-lib middle, although those people, when they're losing, they freak out, as just as much as any other group. But people litmus test on the right, you're not hardcore enough, and you're a fake, and you're a phony, and there's no time for this type. I don't want to even talk to these people. And I'm seeing it also on the other side. This lunatic that killed 50 people in New Zealand. All right, I didn't really address that because I don't know how to wrap my mind around that kind of behavior. I can't. I mean, my right-wing instincts actually kick in, and I'm thinking, here's a good place, here's a good argument here for the death penalty. Doesn't bring back the 50 people, doesn't change the political climate, might make you feel better or more justified in your own life. I don't know. I understand that death penalty isn't a deterrent anymore, by the way, because when a culture spirals out of control, it really doesn't revere life. So this guy wanted to be the martyr, and his manifesto literally just put all of this stuff out there that the left and the right fight about all the time. And it was, this guy basically made himself out to be like a white nationalist. And who knows what he really is. Maybe he is that stuff. Maybe he believes that stuff. But his intention was to stoke like a civil war or something. And people are talking. And then you see, I'm not defending Chelsea Clinton. I do not like the Clintons. I think they've been involved with some of the worst people. Google Jeffrey Epstein if you want to go that way. And Chelsea Clinton reminds me of her mother when she speaks, and she's very condescending, and she's very, I'm sorry you feel that way, and maybe she should have said something like, you're making really good points, and I see how passionate you are, and maybe I need to re-examine how I think. Something to that effect. I mean, but what I was getting out of that exchange was there was nothing she could have said to change what she was getting. I think people get into a fog on both sides of the spectrum when they're passionate and they're angry. And our best selves are nowhere to be found in that. The difference between that kind of stuff and what Tulsi Gabbard represents to me is that here comes a woman who wants to crank the rhetoric down, who wants to crank the volume down, who isn't trying to stoke. And I don't think her supporters want that either. This is a candidate, by the way, that is for peace. So I think peace applies across the board. It applies in your own behavior toward your fellow human beings. I had no problem, by the way, with what Omar said, and I expressed that in a video. And I know that's kind of strange, again, me being on the right side of things, and I'm supposed to be, you know, I've had some issues with the support for Israel for quite some time. We're spending $107 a minute on Israel. $107 a minute. I don't know why. I don't know why we need to do that. But if we were spending $107 a minute on Iceland or on, you know, Zimbabwe, I would have the same issues. So I'm consistent in that way, and I think she was calling out the fact that we shouldn't be showing any kind of favoritism toward any country. And if we truly do want to make America first, then we should stop all of this foreign aid, unnecessary foreign aid. In fact, personally, I don't think we should do any foreign aid. And one of the reasons I supported Donald Trump initially was the fact that he was telling that everybody, these countries needed to pay up and they needed to stop using us as their police force. And I thought, hey, here comes a guy who's going to bring all these guys home and change the way we deal with other countries. He ran into the deep state, and that's pretty much off the table. And I think Tulsi Gabbard is more serious. But again, she doesn't come at this in a way that makes me feel like I couldn't have her as my president. And her supporters, to me, seem very rational people. And there are people that have shown up on this channel and have said to me, hey, it's good to know that there's somebody over on the right. Now, I'm waiting for that person to come along, because it's going to happen, who's going to say, hey, you bleeping bleep, this is our turf, get off our turf. You can't support this candidate. You know, it's kind of like Stephen Colbert pointing out the people who like Tulsi Gabbard. Well, did you hear that David Duke likes you? And then people go running away because they get that whole guilt by association vibe. And then you're paralyzed. I don't think she's not gonna buckle under that, and I'm not gonna necessarily either. But it does scare me a little bit to watch the commentary on a thread that is about just being civil to each other. You don't get in someone's face if you disagree. You have a disagreement and you argue passionately, you make your points, and then you let it go. You don't try to physically hurt anybody, because we're never ever going to reconcile as a country. And I don't even know what that means, reconcile as a country. I don't know if it's possible anymore. But we've got to do better. We've got to get to a place where we're not constantly pissed off at something. And the reason I jumped off the Trump train, number one, it was going off the rails, so I would have crashed along with it. But I jumped off because I was tired of the negativity. It's a campaign, and I say campaign because it's just constantly out there, that's based on a 24-hour media cycle and Trump uses the media and springboards off of it because all they do is cover him. They cover him. If he says something negative, they'll cover it more. And then the people on the left get angrier because that's the news cycle for 24 hours. We need a president who doesn't use the media that way and who uses, quite honestly, I'm just going to say it like this, nice words, decent words, moral, decent, nice words. I don't know if it's possible anymore. And again, there's plenty of stuff on the left, plenty of stuff on the right. I'm not a centrist, by the way. I'm passionate about our country. I am center on most things, meaning that I'm a live and let live person. That's the libertarian side of who I am. But I'm not one of these guys that would carry a sign and then try to hit somebody over the head with it if they didn't agree with me. Because if I'm truly for peace, I'm also for peace between human beings here at home. All right, you can't have peace abroad if you can't manage peace at home. Think about that. Tulsi Gabbard is a perfect example of somebody who's got peace in their heart. It's her faith. She's grounded. She understands who she is. She's comfortable in her own skin. She's strong. She's passionate, but she's also gentle as well. And this is who and what we need in the Oval Office. So, really went off on a tangent there. This is a super long video, and hopefully it will upload someday, sometime. Talk to you soon.